Hello everyone, I'm Mrs. Midnight, and although Thanksgiving has passed already, I want to dedicate this video to a reflection about this day, about my first experience of spending it here in United States with Mr. Midnight, with Ray, the doggy, with Waffle the kitty that's laying down on Ray's pillow at the moment, and the things that it made me think of that I'm grateful for personally in my life. As you can see in the title, 13 Reasons Why. In this case, it's not like in the series, it's not a suicidal note, don't worry. It's about 13 reasons why I feel grateful in my life. So without further ado, let's begin. First things first, let's go to the simplest and most basic thing, but that's rather important, and that's
one teensy weensy but ever so crucial little tiny detail.
Being alive. To begin with, because otherwise I couldn't be even thinking of doing this video, of interacting with the community, with my family. And besides being alive, breathing and eating, walking and everyday stuff, being at least more well than unwell. You know, I know that for a person that has MS, like in my case, to say that I'm alive and well may sound too optimistic for some, like, well, are you sure because you have a chronic disease? But despite having MS and despite the dual and grieving process that it has been to get used to living with that, I definitely am grateful to be at least much more in the well side than on the opposite one. And therefore I think in my case, it's not only not as crazy as it sounds to think that I'm relatively well, but it's rather important because I see the cases of so many others that have the same sickness as I do, that are in a much less privileged situation. And things like that, besides being painful and scary to hear about or to read about, have made me reflect that taking the stance of because I have MS, my life is over and I'm not going to do anything with it. Just because I have it, even if it's not hindering me from actually doing something that's valuable for me, that's rather insulting and unfair to other people in that situation or in other situations that are hindered from doing things that, had they not been in that situation, they would be working on every day of their lives. So yeah, that would be number one, being able to talk, to walk, to watch a movie with my husband, to play a video game with my stepson, to read the chat when you write to me. All those things would not be possible if I wouldn't be in this plane, in this world. So for that, I'm grateful. Since, by the way, this video is dedicated to things I'm grateful for this year, maybe other things from other years here and there, but mainly from 2024, a rather important one would have been to have been able to meet my husband back in Mexico when he went to visit me. I mean, I had met him already online, but having been able to see him in person for the first time, and I one day have to make a story time for you if you want it, of how it was the first encounter, because it was hilarious. But at any rate, having been able, after being in a long distance relationship for a while, because given financial and logistic impairments on both sides, it took longer than we would have wanted to meet in person. But when we finally met, it was not only a blast, and I loved seeing him and being close to him, being able to kiss him, hug him, and what have you, but
Pumba, not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry.
also it was so wonderful to see that the amazing man that I have met online was exactly the same person I was hanging out with in the Airbnb that we rented for that week. You know, in the sense that when you meet someone online, until you actually see each other in person, you will always have the, even if it's minimal, but the certain doubt if anything will be different, like from the screen to, besides the fact that you are physically in the same place, like if they're gonna behave in a way that they were concealing online or things like that. And it was wonderful to see that the wonderful man I had fallen in love with online is the same man that I met when he went to see me and that I married when I came to live here. But I'm getting ahead of myself because that's something for another point. In addition to the former point, having married the man of my life and work alongside with him for our future together. You know, when I arrived in April, I had the dream of one day marrying him, but we still didn't know at that time when it was gonna happen, how, and what have you. And the way it was perfect, And it was even similar, what I'm gonna say is even similar to what I posted back then on Facebook. But for instance, we did not spend millions on renting an expensive place for the party. It was at our home, with our stepson taking the photos, and that was beautiful. He did quite a nice job. If that boy has an interest in photo, I would definitely support that career because he has a talent for it. But not only because of the composition, but also because he captured the love in all the moments, the happiness, and those are beautiful memories that I got to share not only with my husband, but also with the rest of our family. That I'm still getting used to the concept of being not a mother per se, but stepmother, that's the closest to it. And it is beautiful, but sometimes it overwhelms me, and what brings me like back down to earth is knowing that I'm working alongside the most wonderful man, the man that I love and that I feel safe and happy with. And knowing that my stepson has been raised by that man, I think I have nothing to fear. Having wonderful friends that stayed in Mexico, but although they are physically there, somehow they are here. Honestly, I take them in my heart and I think of them constantly because they are not only wonderful friends in the sense of being fun and being a blast to be with them, but they are the closest I have to a family. I see them as my siblings even. I'm gonna give you a show now. Just gonna show you my tattoo of my moon that I have here. Oh, there we go. Shadow was not helping matters, but it's a purple moon that I got tattooed to like as a token from my friend Luna, and I picked those colors because they are her favorites. It was the first tattoo we got together. I mean, she got something else and I figured, okay, I will tattoo something of the same size on the same area, but that represents you. And her and other friends that I miss and love dearly from Mexico are really something wonderful that I have no words to express how grateful I am to have the love of such wonderful people like them. And especially after having moved countries, you know, when Nathan and I decided that we wanted to have a life together, I was determined and I was sure that this is what I wanted and that I wanted to take the risks and do all the craziness that it implied to apply for the green card, to move from one country to another and what have you. But I think that the hardest part of the process has not even been the adapting curve from changing countries and everything is different, but missing my friends.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
I think of them all the time, and although we fortunately, thanks to technology, stay close to each other, I'm infinitely grateful that the love, the affection, the care for each other did not go away because of me being far away. If you guys are seeing this, I love you. And speaking of friends, we can't forget the friends that I have made here. I mean, granted, I do live in a small town and the majority of my friends work a lot throughout the day, so it's hard to make a lot of plans to go out and hang together, but it's wonderful to run into each other when I go out. Right now it's super cold to walk, but when I go to the convenience store, one of my friends works there. Two of my friends actually work there, and it's beautiful to arrive to a new country not knowing anyone, or in my case not knowing anyone but my husband, and have not only his family but also his friends, his acquaintances, and people in general be so warm and so kind. I mean, granted that you're not gonna become friends with every single person that you cross paths with in life, but I have made some amazing friendships here from people that I really appreciate and I'm very grateful to have in my life. And I'm also very grateful not only to life for having put them in my path, but also to them for having been so kind as to open themselves to make a new friend in someone that arrived the country not knowing anyone but her significant other. That means the world to me and fills my heart with joy. I mean, take for instance, in an event of the family, I remember Nate's ex-father-in-law that we were talking and he asked me how long was I gonna stay. And back then, Nate and I were just engaged, not married yet. But by then I did know that I was not going to leave. I was going to apply for the adjustment of status and what have you. And I remember that jokingly I told him, "You're stuck with me." And I remember that he immediately replied, "Oh no, I don't think we're stuck with you." And that was very sweet because that's like in the sense of it's not negative for you to stay, all the opposite. And it may seem small, but for me, it filled my heart that day because, again, somebody that just met me, that had no obligation to be friendly per se, was not only friendly, but also extremely kind. And I'm very grateful for having met so wonderful people so far. having been able to monetize my channel in Spanish, Señora Medianoche.
Congratulations.
And the wonderful audience that I have there that even visits me here, sometimes in Mrs. Midnight. And whether it's the audience from the Spanish channel or the audience from here, from Mrs. Midnight, I'm grateful for my career in YouTube in general, because despite that it's very young still, the amount of subscribers, reproduction hours, 3 of my 4 channels are not monetizing yet. I mean, there's a long way to run. I have a wonderful community that motivates me to keep working on my material constantly. Every day, or the closest to every day as it can be, and whenever it's not every day, nowadays, I can proudly say that I don't take more than 1 or if anything 2 more days in a row for resting. And the rest of the week, whether it's recording, writing, editing, what have you, but I'm working actively on my channels.
Once again, congratulations.
And that may sound like, well, yeah, that's what any YouTuber has to do. But obvious as it may sound, being a person that struggles with depression, and that sometimes it's even challenging to bring myself to get out of bed and do something with time, I feel grateful for my channels to have grown enough to give me the motivation to work, to at least try things. And if I screw up, if I have to correct things in post-editing and things like that, well, so be it. But I'm motivated to try because I have a beautiful audience of wonderful people that for some reason take time off their agenda to dedicate to watch my material. And that means the world, you know. When I started my YouTube channels, the idea came from, well, I want to stream the games that I like and share with people that enjoy the same games as I do, the way I like to play them, the things that go through my mind as I play. But it evolved into something beautiful where I do those things on the streamings, but I also make guides to help people play better on the video games that like we share the enjoyment for, or even the honor of some people in my audience to trust me, to talk to me about their things, you know, to arrive to my streaming and tell me, hey, Mrs. Midnight, I had a bad day, can I tell you about it? Or, I mean, whenever they come up with those kind of requests, can I tell you about my bad day, or something good happened to me, do you want to know? Midnighters, the answer is always yes. I'm never going to press you into you have to tell me every single detail of your life, because it's not your obligation to do. But anything that you want to share with me, I love that you trust me for doing so. And I truly appreciate and feel honored whenever you do. Thank you for being part of this crazy dream of mine called Mrs. Midnight in English or Señora Medianoche in Spanish. Having a wonderful stepson that when he comes here to the house, he shows me that he enjoys spending time together, and inadvertently reminds me to not leave myself without time for fun and quality time with loved ones, because at one point of my staying here, going through immigration things and also trying to get the Spanish channel to monetize and being overwhelmed with work and with classes, I basically had next to no time for him, you know, for hanging together, doing things together, spending quality time. And at one point, I started getting genuinely concerned that maybe I could have fractured my relationship with Alex because of being so unavailable all the time. But the other day before Thanksgiving, I actually had a talk with him like, hey, because of all this that was going on with my life, I feel that we have not really spent a lot of time together lately, and I'm sorry about that. Whenever you want to, please let me know and I will try to make time for it. And ever since we've spent Thanksgiving together, we watched a movie the other day. I finally watched Deadpool vs. Wolverine and I loved it, and I loved watching it with him. And I'm definitely very grateful for that boy and for Tyler as well, his older brother, that I have not met in person yet because he lives in Houston, but I have talked to him on the phone, and both of them, Tyler and Alex, are wonderful boys. Well, Tyler is technically an adult at this point, he's in his 20s, but they are wonderful guys, and that's no surprise because of the wonderful man that has raised them. And in Alex's case also, I know for a fact, because I know Kate, his mom, and she is my friend, that he's not only been raised by a wonderful man, but also by a wonderful woman. If you're liking this video so far, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so YouTube lets you know when I upload the second part. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving, and if you don't celebrate it, I hope you like this video where we do one of the main traditions of this day in the United States, that's sitting with your loved ones and say the things that you are grateful for. I honestly think that regardless of the day of the year that it is, it's always a good habit to remember to be grateful and to not take for granted the things that are valuable in our lives.
Alright, don't get all sloppy. No one likes to kiss ass.
Mrs. Midnight loves you and hopes to see you next time. See you soon.